Today I'm going to teach you how to be a real historian, how to do your research correctly, and when someone actually have to debate you about history or politics, economy even, you could debate them back convincingly. For example, I have an artifact from the Renaissance era, these glasses, right? So this is primary source because it's from the era of Renaissance. I could call this primary source, but I need to prove that it's actually the primary source. That's why we are entering into our second step. What is our second step? Our second step is the verification. You have to criticize your own primary source. You have to ask, is this actually from the Renaissance era? How do we know that this is actually from the Renaissance era? And I show the assurance company that I actually have a painting from the Renaissance era that actually seeing these glasses, right? This glass must be from the Renaissance era. It could be predated to that day. In the modern era, especially right now, you can see a lot of technology that you could some kind of carbon fiber inside of it, and you could actually predate it. You could predict whether it's from 2,000 years ago, 10,000 years ago, and 3,000 years ago. This is how we actually write a history about, for example, dinosaurs. Something that if there is no fossils of it, we could say it's fictional. There is nothing such as dinosaurs, a big 10-foot animals that actually exist. No, you must be kidding me, but this is history. You search for evidence. So this is why I say history is one of the early subject that actually discovered in the ancient Greek. So when the ancient Greek discovered it, they have a lot of philosophy inquired. So one of the part of learning about history is actually learning about the philosophy of history. I would bring you back to this glass. For example, there is a water from this part to this part, right? So there's water, but I could say from my perspective the water is only half full, but another people would say the water is actually half empty. See, different people, we could see a different interpretation. That's why we're gonna answer to our third part, which is called interpretation of history. So you have criticized your own primary source, you got your secondary source to actually exercise the authority of the primary source. Now what you should do, why you should write history, right? Is history one of the subject in the faculty of arts, sometimes in the faculty of humanities. You ask, why is this art? If this is actually such an important subject and it actually require a political understanding and economic understandings, then why it's not in the political department, right? It's because we actually have to write it beautifully, right? We have to explain to normal people that are not historians that this is what actually happened in a way that they actually understand, not just the way that the historian understand. It's useless if only historian understand it and the normal people doesn't actually got to read this, right? So that's where interpretation came to part. Writing history is an art that you have to learn for a bit of time. I think you have to speak in a certain way. So that's why I encourage you to learn history, because after you learn history, you got to speak more eloquently, right? And then you can argue in a more, your argument is more precise. Your argument could be backed up by actually a source. There is something that back it up, not just you blabbering, right? Blabbering around about something. And this is why you have to learn history. So that's simply my introduction to history. But I'm gonna explain to you one of the most interesting part of the history is the how do we learn a history of the world when we have a lot of subjects about it, a lot of books about it, and what's my own recommendation of introduction to the history of the world and how you actually wrote it, right? Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and you might leave your comments about your opinion in this video, and you might see me in my next content where I would explain this in a more detailed way. Thank you for watching. Bye bye.
Boleh juga. Bagus. Kamu lolos. Selamat ya, selesai.